Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be using the Spellbinders club kits. We're using two different ones. This is the wax seal of the month. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to be an oval. And I got the matcha wax beads with mine. I'm not sure what you'll get with yours. And then I also have the stencil of the month. Now these are all available right now. This is a two-piece stencil and it does measure 6 by 6. I feel like there's several ways to do this one other than all kinds of different colors. You could probably twist that around if you really wanted to. But to pick out my colors for my cards, I did use the color cube. Now, I don't know if you're aware or familiar with what the color cube is. I like to have things in my hand. I'm trying to get better at things online, but this works so well for me because I can have it sitting out and then I can actually pull it up to my colors and match those really, really well. So this is what they're like. You get a bunch of them in one box. There are two cubes. I do have both. And this is the color palette that I chose. I like how the back, it tells you what colors they are. There's an instruction cube or piece inside your cube, and that's going to give you a little bit more on that. But this is how I was able to choose the colors I wanted and pull through my Lunar paste. That's what I'm going to be using today. And I also bring in some Distress Oxides later on too. But I love this. Now if you're not the type of person who wants something like in your hand or doesn't need that, they do have a companion set that goes along with it. And it's all online. You can like pull it up from your computer. I'll have all that linked down below, but I love this. We're going to be using this a bunch in the future. So just pretty much count on that. And so because I'm using that color cube, I've got a piece of gray cardstock that I've cut down to be just smaller than A2. And then I have a piece of black cardstock that will be the size of an A2. And I'm going to put that gray cardstock right onto my Tonic platform here, my magnetic platform. And we're going to just put that down with our magnets. And then I'm going to bring in those Lunar pastes that you saw earlier. We're going to start with the green ones. I've got some later Gator, and I also have some fake plant, and I'm just going to kind of put that down at the bottom. I have the Simon Hurley Create tools that work really well with your Lunar paste if you want everything to be nice and flat or uniform. And so I decided to pull that in for this as well. I'll put that fake plant on the other side, and then we're just going to kind of spread it across the top. I didn't do the best job. I didn't get all the leaves. And I didn't realize that until I had pulled it away. But at that point, it was what it was. So put those down using a palette knife, and then I'll scrape that up to the top. You can see, like I said, I don't get all the leaves. That's okay. I learned my lesson with the next one. But I did want to make sure that this was nice and thin. I wanted this to be a thin layer because there is a second layer to this stencil that you saw earlier. And I definitely want to make sure that, and I'll talk about that, I want that to be kind of flat as I can get it. So I did let this dry on its own simply because, I mean, this week has been insane. This last couple of weeks have been so crazy for my personal life. So I didn't have time to come back and like heat set it and just work on this card just for one day. This took me 2 days to work on because I just have had so much going on in my life. Like I bet we all could say this time of year. So these next two colors that I've brought in are Triple Berry, and then I've got Roar as well. And we're going to do the same process. But what I was saying earlier is I really wanted that first layer to be nice and thin because I have noticed when I'm using any sort of medium with my stencils that happens to be a little bit thick or takes time to dry, sometimes those mediums can squirt underneath the stencil and then cause it to have a little bit of a halo look. And I do have a little bit of that going on here. It's not so bad that I thought, well, I'll start over. Plus, I just did not have time. So we are working with what we got. And so on this part, I just pulled some more of that Roar in at the bottom or on that one side. And then I'll bring in some more of that Triple Berry on the other side using my palette knife, cleaning it off in between. But we're going to bring in the scraper tool to just kind of make sure that that is as flat as possible. I didn't want to push too hard, like I said, because it will squirt underneath the stencil, and you'll see that here when I pull it away. But I'm happy enough with the look. I think it looks fine. So I am going to clean off all my tools, and then once again had to walk away and let that dry on its own because a zillion things on my calendar oh my goodness. All right, so that's done. Our background is done using the stencil, and now I'm going to bring in that wax seal. I have the original wax seal kit that Spellbinders has, where they've got your little wax spoon, your little holder. I do not, and I've said this before, I do not use a candle in here. There's too much paper, and I have cats, so I like to heat my beads or my little wax beads with my heat tool. I think it works fine, and I know people have talked about an electric one. I just don't have that. And so this is what's going to work for me. I put 5 in there to start, and then I'm going to put the rest inside one of these little Spellbinders holders. They take up 3 little spots, but I don't mind. That's fine with me. And then I usually like mark it at the or with a label maker. But yeah, so I'm going to heat that up. When those are nice and heated and melted, then I'll pour that onto the mat. And because this is an oval, I'm going to try and keep it kind of oval shaped as I pour that wax on there. And then you can clean this up with a baby wipe if you need to, if you're done. I'm not done. I'm going to make one more, but I'll put my seal into it, and then I'm going to grab 4 more beads for my second one. So once I get it started, I always use more beads to get it started because you always have a little bit left over inside your little spoon. So I'll use 4 for this next one. It ends up being a decent amount, and so I probably could have gotten away with 3, but that's what that looks like. I love it. And then I know you've seen me use a paint pen before. Spellbinders has a silver one, a gold one, and a rose gold one, but you can use a black one. This is a Sharpie black one. It's not a Sharpie, but it is a Sharpie black paint pen. So it's got to be a paint pen. A Sharpie, I don't think is going to work. It'll probably rub away. So even using that black, and I chose black because that went with my color palette from my color cube. And then I'm going to put a piece of score tape on the back or double-sided adhesive, and then I'm going to use some black thread to just wind that around a bunch of times. I'm doing that again to stick with my color palette that I've chosen from that color cube, but I can just wind that around a bunch of times. It doesn't add bulk. I think that's why I like using the thread or the string. It works out really, really well, and you can really, like I said, add as much as you want to it. And then once I've got that figured out about how much I want, I'll use another piece of score tape to hold everything into place. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down to that black piece of cardstock. And once again, that's only going to give a slight border around that. That piece of black cardstock does measure 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So it will cover the full front of an A2 size card. So it's a nice little, very skinny black border. So glue doesn't always work, especially if, like in this case, I use the Lunar paste. So I do have these little stickers that Spellbinders carries that work well for the wax seals. And then I can just stick that down right on top of my card. And then I'll use my liquid glue to adhere down this to my card base, which is a white card base. And then that's going to finish off this card. I want to show you the other card that I made using this two combo and using that same color combo itself. Now it is subdued because I did use some Distress Oxide colors. I'll have all those linked down below, but I did it on black cardstock. So it's fairly subdued, but it is the same color palette. And there you have those 2 cards using the Wax Seal Kit of the Month and the Stencil of the Month. I hope you like it. And if you did, please hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.